Good morning and welcome to Bethel Evangelical Free Church on Facebook. I'm Pastor Gervais Charmley, as I suspect most of the people watching already know. And this is the lockdown devotional for Wednesday, the 29th of April 2020. We continue to look to God in all this. And it seems to me that as the time goes on, that one of the most important things for Christians to remember at this time is that we are Christians, and that our response has to be, to any crisis, to any problem, has to be God-centred and not man-centred. And so my thoughts have been directed to 1 Samuel chapter 30. I'll read from 1 Samuel chapter 30, verses 1 through 6. Now it happened when David and his men came to Ziklag on the third day, that the Amalekites had invaded the south, and attacked Ziklag, and burned it with fire, and had taken captive the women and those who were there, from small to great. They did not kill anyone, but carried them away, and went their way. So David and his men came to the city, and there it was, burned with fire, and their wives, their sons, and their daughters had been taken captive. Then David and the people who were with him lifted up their voices and wept, until they had no more power to weep. And David's two wives, Ahinoam the Jezreelitess, and Abigail, the widow of Nabal the Carmelite, had been taken captive. Now David was greatly distressed, for the people spoke of stoning him, because the soul of all the people was grieved, every man for his sons and his daughters. But David strengthened himself in the Lord his God. David was in perhaps the worst situation that a leader could ever find himself in a situation where his followers, his people, blamed him for a gigantic disaster and wanted to take out their anger, their frustration, their sorrow on him. One of the things that we're reminded of in this passage is that responding emotionally to a situation of great stress is normal. In fact, I'm very suspicious of people who can be completely unemotional in the midst of great sorrow and distress, and so should you be. Because if you're completely unemotional in the midst of a situation, here they were, their whole families had been taken away into captivity to be sold as slaves. They had no certainty that they would ever see their wives and children again. And of course they were emotional. But the great danger of emotional people is that emotion can override rationality. And worse, emotion can lead to a situation where we stop trusting God, where all our thoughts become about who is to blame for this. And that's what David's followers thought at that moment. Who is to blame? Now, the rational answer, of course, is, well, the answer is that it's the Amalekites who are to blame. But the Amalekites, of course, were nowhere to be seen. They'd gone off with the captives. And so, who was there to lay the blame on? Well, it was David. And David was in great trouble at this point. What was going to happen to him? Well, the response was that David strengthened himself, says the New King James, in the Lord his God. David did not respond in kind. David wept and wept. David felt that deep emotional response, but David didn't allow the deep emotional response to lead him then to defensiveness, to lead him into a situation where he was trying to take out his anger and frustration on others, but it led him instead to say, I must go to God. Are we weak and heavy laden, burdened with a load of care. Jesus knows. And so indeed, as the hymn writer says, take it to the Lord in prayer. Trials and tribulations and difficulties shouldn't lead us to look for people to blame, but should lead us instead to strengthen ourselves in God. And so David gives us a wonderful example here in the midst of tribulation, to strengthen himself in God, to take it to the Lord in prayer, to seek God's strength, God's help, and God's way. May the Lord help us indeed to look to him at this time and to strengthen ourselves in the Lord our God. Thank you for watching. This evening, God willing, we shall have our midweek meeting live streamed at 7:30 from the church, and tomorrow night is the Who Gate History lecture series, which if anyone wants information about that, email me and I shall pass on the information to Who Gate. But thank you for watching, and may the Lord bless you and keep you.